when I tell y'all that my spirit guides were screaming at me to turn this off because a 10-year-old starts describing an encounter with a flesh pedestrian in broad daylight. Yeah, we're officially entering into the you couldn't pay me enough to live in that neighborhood kind of territory. What's good in the YouTube hood? It's your girl Luna Nova, and I'm back with another one for y'all today. Welcome back to the Mystic Muse, where we dive into the creepy, the conspiracy, and the downright strange. Welcome back, my hoodlums. Today we're diving into the Hbpov ghost story saga. A TikTok storyline so wild it feels like Netflix should have already gotten the rights to it to start a series. So this poster talks about an eerie encounter that he has when he's just 10 years old, but whatever he came across was not human. And it wasn't pretending to be human very well either. It was strange. It kept reappearing almost like he had him on some type of paranormal subscription plan. But wait, there's more. It gets worse. Because years later, his childhood friend's mom, who saw the same exact entity, sent him an email confirming what he saw and what his best friend saw. And honey, let me just tell you, when the parents start validating what's being seen, that's when you know it's not insomnia and it's not an overactive imagination. So let's break down the timeline, the sightings, the chills, the twists, the turns. I'm ready to get into all of it because this saga gets stranger the deeper that you dive. So go ahead and grab your drink, grab your snack, and let's get into today's creepy ghost story saga. Only if you dare.
Good morning, it's 5 a.m. Let me tell you a very scary story about how I was stalked by what I think was a skinwalker. This isn't a funny story. This isn't anything like the Sharon Tate story. This is something I've never publicly talked about, and to this day, I just still can't explain. So, where I used to live when I was a little boy was an area of Temecula known as Duluth. It's this like hilly, mountainous area that sort of overlooks the Temecula Basin. And Duluth is surrounded by oak and avocado groves. So it's dark and there's like all these like kind of gullies and canyons and stuff like that. And my brother and I would explore them on our bikes. But even before then, I have lived in Duluth twice in my life. Once when I was a little boy from like the ages of like 0 to 5 to we moved, and then I was there from like ages 10 to 12. Anyway, so the first time in Duluth, something that just I've never been able to explain, and this all kind of factors into the same thing. When I was a little boy, in the first house that we lived in, we lived on acreage. Like, we had a couple acres deep in these groves. I called it the big house because it was just a big white house. And so I would always hear voices in the trees. And I was like a very precocious young child, and so I would talk to them. But they were talking to me in a language that I never understood. I never could figure it out. And when we started to explore the property more, as my brother and I grew up, we found arrowheads. There was a little creek that ran next to the house, and we found arrowheads and like artifacts. And so like there was also this like giant stone in the backyard, like deep. And it had these like holes, like where someone would take like a stone and like grind like corn. But I could never get over the fact that whenever I would be by myself in the backyard, I always felt like I was being watched. And so one night when I was a little boy, I asked my dad in the middle of the night to walk down to the kitchen with me and get a glass of water. And we had this really big plate window in the kitchen, and staring back at me were these giant orange eyes. And I have never been able to like describe the fear and the dread of seeing these unblinking giant orange eyes. It was probably an animal, honestly, but you can't rationalize that when you're like 4 or 5 years old. Even now, whenever I have nightmares, I genuinely see those orange eyes. So that's sort of the first part of this story. Just setting up of like, Deleuze has a very ancient, weird energy that I can't explain. Second time that we moved to Deleuze was the time that I am still just terrified to even talk about publicly. Let me grind this coffee 1 second. So after my father passes away, my mom and my brother moved back to Temecula. We find another house in the Deleuze area because it's just where we know. And it's a pretty cool property. I have neighbors now, like kids my age, and that I can hang out with. I really like this place that we live. And so one day, my brother and I are riding around on our bikes, and we find this area kind of near our house where there were supposed to be some other houses built. And in this grove of oaks overlooking a canyon, there is a tree house. And we freak out. We have always wanted a tree house of our own. And it's very clear that this has been abandoned, like years and years ago. The wood is kind of rotten. The everything is sort of like dilapidated. And the thing with that is there's a lot of rust. And so like you can already smell this like very like tangy, rusty smell in the air. And so we then say, this is our treehouse. No one's clearly using it, so let's make it ours. And we go back to the house and we start getting tools. We start working on this. And whenever we have neighbor friends over, we go work on the treehouse. It was basically like mom would take us to Home Depot, we'd get a couple 2x4s, some nails, and start hammering it in. And so about a month later, my brother Chase and my mom go on a field trip to Sacramento because that was the big trip at the time. And so I'm staying with some neighbor friends and their son, Taylor. And I get on my bike one day after school and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go ride my bike. And they're like, oh, where are you going to go? And I said, oh, the treehouse. And the mom is like, what treehouse? So I'm like, oh, the one that's like up Sunset Terrace. And she's like, honey, don't go there. I was like, why? And she's like, don't go there, please. I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I went there because I'm dumb. And when I get there, there's a kid. There's a kid just working on the treehouse. And I've never seen him before. And so I'm like, hey, hello. And he like waves back. And so I come up and I'm like, hi, I'm Hunter. What's your name? And he says, I'm working on the treehouse. I'm like, yeah, I see that. That's cool. Is this yours? And he's like, no, I like it though. I'm like, okay. So he's given like fairly short one-word answers. And the thing that I'm noticing now is that rusty smell from before is heightened. It is a lot more intense. Like it is like this rust. It's like blood and rust. It's a very metallic smell. And I'm starting to get pretty queasy, like really off-putted. And it's getting to the point where I'm almost about to throw up. And this kid is just like, he's working on the treehouse, but it's almost as if like he's acting out working on the treehouse. Like he's not actually doing anything. And so I'm trying to get like asking more questions, like where he lives. And he's only really giving one-word answers if he gives answers at all. And I'm just starting to feel weird and my stomach feels sick from the smell. And I'm like, hey, I'm actually going to go. He's like, I know, you're going to go now. I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, well, I'll see you later. Still don't have his name. And I get on my bike and I ride away and I like look back and he's then standing in the field, like standing where these houses were supposed to be built. Later that night, I can't sleep. Like I can't sleep at all. And I feel this like need to like look out the window. And there's this kid standing at the top of the driveway. I'm like, genuinely, like, all the hair is like standing on my hand. He's like standing in the driveway, and it's clearly this kid, but it's as if this kid is like crooked. It's literally like he's looking like this. He's just standing there. And I like blink it, and like I close the blinds. And I can feel, like, when you feel someone's presence like coming up to a window, you know they're there. And I could not sleep that entire night because I felt that presence at that window. And like right before, in the morning, it was a Friday. And so I just had to check for myself. And I went outside before we left for school, and I looked. And there were like these weird misshapen, like, it looked like a footprint, but it was almost as if it was like made by an animal. It was just standing in front of that window. I can't explain it. This is what happened. Believe me if you want. I think I was stalked by a skinwalker. Good morning, it's 6 a.m. This is part 2 of how I think I was stalked by a skinwalker. So after my mom and my brother get back from this field trip, there are just weird things that are happening in and around our house that I can't explain. There are doors left open. There are, like, my computer would turn on at random times at night, and like, I'm starting to get goosebumps just talking about this again. Like, there were so many things that I could not explain, to the point that whenever I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would always see a figure. And like, it was just this dark figure that would always be like just ever so slightly out of glance. Like, sometimes, like, when you see shapes at night, you can pretty much figure out that it's something in your house. This was humanoid. This was a figure. And what I I can't explain is the fact that light would not reflect off of it like a normal object. It's as if light went into it and stopped. And so a couple months go by, and a literal once in every 30-year snowstorm happens in Temecula. This is something that is a freak weather occurrence, and so it's snowing in Duluth. And like, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I even see snowfall, and I like go to my mom, and she's like, "Go to bed, you're lying, like there's no snowfall." It was snowing. And so as I'm on my way back from my mom's room to my room, I pass by the kitchen, which has a big window. What is standing outside? It's the crooked figure. It's just standing there in the snow. And I can clearly tell that snow is on it. And I'm like, genuinely, every single fiber of my being knows what I saw. It was just standing there. And the thing that I still can't explain is that its eyes were orange. I know in part 1, I said it could have been an animal. Every fiber of my being says that that thing had orange eyes. It felt like this thing has been following me since I was a child. Later that day, we play in the snow, all that, but I take a second just for myself, and I walk out back, and I see the same prints. It's the exact same prints that were outside the window. It's there. It was there. I know for a fact that up until we left that property, it was always there. And it was always in some way, just like in my peripheral, in my vision, around me. It wasn't like it was stalking. It was as if it was trying to learn my behavior. But here's kind of the weirdest part about all of this. It never felt like it wanted to do anything nefarious. It always felt like it was curious. Like it wanted to know more. It wanted some amount of a connection. Like it, in a weird way, it felt like it wanted a friend. Yet the way and the manner of how it was occupying my space was terrifying to a 10-year-old. And so a couple years later, when we go to sell the house is emptied at this point, and I'm just like walking around. I don't know where my mom is, and my brother is somewhere on the other side of the house. And I hear the voice from the treehouse just call out saying, "Goodbye." And it's always as if, because then I start trying to follow the voice, like, where is this coming from? I'm trying to like run around. I'm trying to like find it. I can't find it. There's a little shed on the property. Cute little shed. And I go outside and I see boy from the treehouse, whatever that I saw all those, months ago. And he goes into the shed. And so, like, I run into the shed. There's nothing there. There's a part of me that feels like that spirit, whatever it was trapped. And it was just looking for some amount of a companion. That's it. Good morning, it's 8:30 a.m. This is part 3 of how I was stalked by what I think was a skinwalker. And this is kind of an insane update because I reached out to my next door neighbor and I asked her about why she said not to go to the treehouse. And so this is from Taylor's mom. Hi Hunter, it's been a long time. Wow, yes, I do remember the treehouse. As memory serves me, when we first moved to the neighborhood, we went on a walk one evening up around where your house and several others were still being built. For whatever reason, we decided to walk one of the lots that had just been graded. We had only been there for a couple minutes, but there was this sudden awful smell. We both smelled it and couldn't place where it was coming from. So when I looked towards the trees at the far end of the lot line, I could have sworn I saw a small boy standing under what looked like a pile of rotten wood stuck in a tree. A couple days later, Taylor remarked on meeting a young boy his age in our backyard who told him about a treehouse and said he should go to it. Even today, my skin crawls just thinking about it. He had never seen that little boy since. I watched your video. Yes, I think that was the thing Taylor and I both saw. Give all my love to your mom and brother. May God bless you and keep you safe. I can't explain this, man. Neither can she. If there's enough interest, there's a part of me that wants to go back and just show that this thing exists. But, as I've been reflecting on that time, more and more events have started coming up. So if there's more interest, I'll do a part 3, but I have to get ready for work. So there you go. That's why she said not to go to the treehouse. Good morning, it's 11 a.m. This is part 4 of how I was stalked by what I think was a skinwalker. And this comment right here summates one of the scariest and weirdest parts of this entire story that I totally forgot about until this popped up. Any time that something weird would happen in and around Duluth, so voices in the trees, seeing this little boy right before we moved out, or just in random times during the year, there would be the sound of drums that would just echo through Duluth, through the canyons, through the trees. And I could never place, and like I'm getting goosebumps again. It was as if it sounded like someone was preparing for war. It sounded like the beating of a rhythmic drum, of drumming up this energy, this weird, honestly undescribable sense. And so one of the times that I distinctly remember the drums happening and then something weird occurring was the first time that my computer turned on in the middle of the night. This was after my mom and my brother got back from the field trip, and I was outside for whatever reason that night, and I could hear just a couple drum beats. It was a doom, 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 and it was far in the distance. It was not close, and I thought it was like someone hitting like a board or something, but it was like too rhythmic. It was too reverberant. It was as if the sound was like permeating everything. And so later that night, when I'm falling asleep, I see this figure just kind of walk past. And so where my bedroom is, there's a hallway, and then there's my computer right here. We had like this little like alcove nook. And so there were 2 computers. There was my brother's and there was mine. And so I'm looking through the door. My bed's here, doorway's here, and this figure just walks past. And as he walks past, or it walks past, I don't know what it is, it like stops and it clearly turns and just looks and stands and watches. And I like, it feels like we're having like a 20-minute stare off. And then it just walks away. And so I get out of bed and I look, there's nothing there, but I turn around, and like right as I turn around, another like shadow or whatever like goes out, like it was waiting in this doorway and leaves. And then when it leaves, like there's the Windows XP like turn on sound, like doo 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 doo, and like my computer boots on, and I can't explain that. Like I was nowhere near close to the computer and it just turns on, and it's like midnight, and so my mom comes out of her bedroom and she's like, "What are you doing awake? Go back to bed. Why are you turning on your computer?" I'm like, "I didn't turn on my computer." And she's like, "You're lying, go to bed." The drums are something that I I know exactly what they sound like, and they were the precursor to everything. Everything, any time that something weird happened, there would be a rhythmic beating. There would be something in the air after this doom, 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 doom. It was always four. There was always like, it was 4 or 8, which is really weird because like my OCD is like 3, 5, 7. So yeah, I wish I could explain a little more about these drums, and I'm gonna try and remember more of these stories of like just weird things that happened during this time. But the drums are something that I just can't explain. Okay, have a good day. Good morning, it's 6 a.m. This is part 5 of how I was stalked by what I think was a flesh pedestrian. Thank you for educating me that I should not say its name, and I thought I would draw what I saw. A lot of you have been asking for this, so apologies in advance. I'm not really an artist. I am a voice artist. I use my voice, but I'm not really that good at drawing. I think the first thing we just have to start with, as I drop my pen, is the eyes, which, you know, I had a nightmare about these last couple nights. Keep seeing them everywhere. And it's just one of those things that when you see it, it just becomes burned into your memory. I genuinely hope that what I saw then was an animal, because just seeing those 2 unblinking eyes is still terrifying. But what I know you guys care about is the crooked figure. And that, I'm just gonna draw kind of loosely what the shape was. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not really that good at this. It's almost more like it was kind of hunched forward. I don't know how to really show that. I'm also probably sorry, like this is probably just boring for you guys to watch, but that's kind of what it looked like. It was like that. I'm really bad at drawing. And then the footprints kind of look like this. Oh God. It was like it was a human's footprint, so I drew it on the left. But it was as if there were like paw pads and then like these longer toes that kind of like came into points. And something else that I wanted to draw really quick, and this is also something where I know I said in part 5 I would go back to the treehouse. I'm reaching out to the Pachanga tribe of the Luiseno Indians who lived in the area, just so that I can understand the area better. I don't want to go back into that area and bring this back. But when I've been reflecting on this story, I remember when we first got to the treehouse, seeing this carving in the tree, and it was like, it was there for a while. Like, I don't know what it means, but it was in the tree where, like, in the actual tree where the treehouse was. It looked like that. Oh, getting goosebumps again. Fuck. I don't know if this was helpful. I don't know if this was entertaining, but these are the closest approximations to what I saw. I'll see you in part 6. Today is the day. We are going back to the treehouse. I always loved the drive out to Temecula, probably because it's nostalgic. I forgot how quiet it was up here. Even after all this time, they never developed this lot. Holy shit, it is still there. Holy shit, it's still there. I don't believe my fucking eyes, it's still there. That's it. That's the treehouse. God, my heart is racing. Of all the trees that were through here, there were trees all through here, including where this house was. The one that stays is the treehouse. Yeah, we put that there. That, we built those steps. Holy shit. I'm not seeing where the symbol was. There used to be a branch right here where I saw the symbol. It wasn't on the tree trunk, it was jutting off right here. This is it. The smell's gone. Kind of that heaviness that I always felt was gone too. It's kind of sad. Whatever spiritual energy is still here, I give you peace. I was never meant to be here. I'm sorry, but I hope sharing your story brings you peace and closure as it has brought me. Goodbye. This story is finished. There's no more details, nothing more to talk about. Because I have found peace, as I feel like whatever I saw found peace for itself. My heart breaks for all the trees that were cut down, because the energy and the mysticism of that area is gone. Whether that's because I grew up or something else, I'll never know.
And that, my hoodlums, wraps up today's creepy ghost story saga. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know what is scarier, the fact that this entity revealed itself, or the fact that multiple people saw the same thing, or the fact that the entity kept showing up like it had some type of unfinished business and no boundaries. A huge shout out to all the channel members. I just want to say thank you as always. Y'all are the real MVPs, and I appreciate y'all holding it down. And I can't wait to meet with you guys this Saturday for our first morning meditation. Myself and all of my celestial seekers will be meeting promptly at 8 a.m. for morning meditation, where we will be doing sound bowl cleansing, morning affirmations, as well as opening up the floor for a little bit of spiritual Q&A, because I know there's a lot of questions that you guys want to ask me, and sometimes you guys are a little shy to do that, and maybe it'll be easier in a bit of a more intimate setting. So I hope I'll see you guys this Saturday. If you have a creepy encounter, some type of ghost story, or an experience that you just can't explain, we want to hear about it over here. Check the description of this video so you can learn how to submit your story to be featured on a future episode of the Mystic Files podcast. But that is all that I have for you guys today. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here so I can edit this one and push another one out for you guys, because I've been on a roll and I'm trying to do at least 2 videos a day. So we're going to keep this going. That's if YouTube stops having horrible upload times, but we'll see about that. But anywho, be sure to drink your water, mind your business, and stay prayed up and protected. And as always, Luna loves you. I'll be back with another video for you guys, if the spirits allow it.
Give it right back, did they give it right back? This look, kitty, can I sit right back? Wanna give it right back, baby, yeah, like that,